It is a quiet morning in the village of Medina Jabal. And like their fathers and grandfathers before them, these Iraqi men pass the hours in friendly competition. Fighting off the chill of winter, the people of Medina Jabal go about the daily routines of life. But all around them, harsh realities intrude. This is a village of divided loyalties, and in a matter of minutes, the people of Medina Jabal will find themselves under fire.
We believe that enemy forces initially will start in buildings 7, 10, 9, and 11.
Why do you think they're going to be there?
They've been sighted in the area based on sources in the town.
In a tent miles from town,
Violent execution of the clearing of buildings.
the U.S. Army's 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment prepares for an assault.
Thunder Squadron conducts reconnaissance and surveillance of Medina Jabal in order to identify IF forces in order to set conditions for future combat operations.
On the floor of the tent, Medina Jabal is a town plan in plywood, fleshed out through recon and confidential informants. But the intelligence is incomplete.
Although we do have targeted houses, the rest of the insurgency and their array in the town is ambiguous. We believe there will be some static IF forces. There will also be forces that have the capability of maneuvering, especially in the center of town.
The preparations are exhaustive, covering everything from handling hostile insurgents to dealing with friendly villagers. But as serious as this business is for everyone here,
my question is, though, is it going to be tit for tat? If they're shooting small arms fire, is it a catastrophic kill?
the truth is that 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment is getting ready to invade a village that is a figment of a battle planner's imagination, existing on the high plains of Colorado instead of in the Iraqi desert.
This training is a culmination of where we started in our training. We started with individual training, small unit collector training to include small arms and gunnery training, and now we're at the mission rehearsal exercise, which is a culminating or capstone event for our mission in Iraq.
The 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment has been assigned a new mission in Iraq. For some of these soldiers, this will be their second tour of duty on the front lines.
I joined the regiment over there the first time. They were over there for a year. I came over there towards the end. We were pretty much doing sustainment, what we call SASO operations, stability support operations, trying to get the Iraqi interim government back on its feet, being able to protect itself so that we can eventually withdraw our forces.
Training Iraqi forces to handle their own security is one of the keys to reducing the number of U.S. troops in Iraq. When insurgents were unable to shut down the elections that chose an Iraqi National Assembly, there were some calls for the Bush administration to immediately announce a schedule for troop withdrawal. Those demands came even as the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment was preparing to go back to Iraq after only 10 months in the embrace of their loved ones who waited before and must now wait again.
It's very hard on the family, being away from your family for a whole year, coming back and 10 months later being away from your family for another whole year. But we're in the military. This is a job that we're supposed to do.
Since the first days of the war in Iraq, military strategists have been challenged to come up with the most realistic training for the changing conditions of a non-traditional battlefield.
You know, combat is this continuous interaction between you and the enemy. Both sides are continuously adapting. And what we have to do is we have to adapt faster. We have to stay ahead of the enemy so that we can seize and retain the initiative and continue to make progress toward achieving our goal.
That means creating villages like Medina Jabal.
What we're doing out here is we're immersing the regiment in Iraq. We're creating scenarios that will create situations very similar to the situations that soldiers will face in Iraq.
But those conditions are unpredictable. On account of bad weather, today's battle has been moved indoors.
Anything in the first room? Negative, sir.
With the assault mission's helicopters grounded by a fierce wind, Lieutenant Michael Smith's men try to stay sharp by going through the elaborate choreography involved in house-to-house combat and rescue.
Remember, you guys want to stay against the wall, right? You don't want to be sitting in the middle of the room.
With the real fake Medina Jabal, they are supposed to assault off limits in the windstorm.
Is that a closed door? Yeah, closed door locked.
This tent serves as an even more phony stand-in. It has no interior walls, doors, or windows.
Don't lose sight of your buddies. If there's a real wall right here, you need to have a visual. You need to have a visual on your buddy, all right? Try not to lose sight of any of your soldiers.
On this day, training here requires a little more imagination than usual.
Pretty much we're just rehearsing. The more you rehearse, the better guys get into it. We got a couple new soldiers that haven't trained with us yet. We're always getting new soldiers all the time, so it's good to rehearse as much as you can. Incoming frag out.
Until a break in the weather provides the opportunity to get a full-scale battle dress rehearsal underway, soldiers fulfill one of war's time-honored traditions. Hurry up and wait. The waiting can also mean wondering about exactly what they will face in just a few weeks.
I have a lot of new soldiers. I think I have about 7 or 8 are new, first time over there. And they're nervous as well, but we have great NCOs and great leadership in this troop, and as well in the organization, that they shouldn't really worry about anything.
Smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, all different types.
It is not lost on the soldiers who fought in the opening stages of the Iraq War that things in Iraq have changed in the 10 months they've been home. One of the most important training exercises here is dealing with the potential of IEDs, improvised explosive devices. IEDs have become the weapon of choice used by insurgents in Iraq.
Durgan, you need to stop that vehicle about 50 meters from this tank. All right, so you guys go ahead and head out there. All right, what's up with this, Sergeant Johnson?
The trick is to recognize the types of materials that can be used to make an IED, as well as to spot the people who might be carrying the ingredients for a roadside bomb.
It's the lieutenant call whether he wants to hold him or detain him for what we got. Because, I mean, he's not a salesman or anything, but he got a bunch of smoke detector, carbon monoxide detectors, which I think could be used in IED making.
In the meantime, the insurgents of Medina Jabal prepare for the arrival of American troops. But these may be the only insurgents
I want some guys walking in and out of these buildings up here
with their own acting coach.
A lot of it we're going to be winging. We just have to see how it plays off, what Blue 4 does. It's going to kind of dictate how you guys react to it.
The idea is to create reality in the middle of an unreal setting.
Get in their face, look mad, but it's all Hollywood. It's all play based on a scenario that's placed by the Army and the mission objective they're trying to reach at the time. If they have certain things they want these guys to learn, so we try to recreate something or create something that's happening overseas for them to learn how to react to those situations.
And the lesson is about to begin. When World Report continues, the assault on Medina Jabal. And the risk being taken by some of the Iraqis playing the part of villagers and insurgents. They are about to begin their own tour of duty in Iraq.
Hey guys, bring it in.
For Lieutenant Michael Smith and his men.
All right, guys. Everybody's tracking on the plan. We're gonna get lined up. White's gonna follow out. We're second in the order march. We'll follow White out.
It is almost time. While in the mock Iraqi village of Medina Jabal,
Just make sure there's active in the streets. We've got guys up there on the hill watching us, and he's reporting what you're doing. So just make it look like you're doing something.
a welcome of AK-47s awaits the GIs.
When they come in, they're coming in to talk to the village leadership, but there's going to be some bad guys who have gotten into town, and there end up be some shooting. So the training soldiers, what we call the Blue 4 soldiers, will have to react to that.
This is the scenario cooked up for the Army's 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment.
The situation that we have replicated here involves a counterinsurgency in a very complex environment involving ethnic and sectarian differences involving insurgents who are trying to shield themselves with an innocent population. So we're interacting with the full range of people that we're going to interact with in Iraq.
The first operation is the destruction of the VBID facility, the other junkyard.
One of the problems facing U.S. troops in Iraq is separating friend from foe. The only thing these troops know for sure about this mission is that insurgents are hiding among the villagers. There is some intelligence that insurgents have kidnapped the town mayor, but that probably won't be known with any certainty until the soldiers roll into Medina Jabal.
The next movement will be Iron Hawk moving forward to clear buildings 33, 32, and 30.
It's very important for soldiers to have this kind of tough, realistic training, because what you want to build in an organization is confidence. Confidence to deal with these complex situations, with the ambiguous environment that exists in Iraq.
Complex and ambiguous are deliberately factored into this scenario. When American troops and armored vehicles arrive in force, the villagers of Medina Jabal can view them as liberators, as occupiers, or as targets.
Lightning 6, Red 1. I have multiple small arms fire from the 3rd floor.
Suppress! Suppress! Suppressing! Go! Go! Don't even let me see our head. Give me suppressive fire! We'll let me know! Pull it forward! Pull it forward!
For Lieutenant Michael Smith and his squad, it can't get much more realistic than this.
You can't walk the same way.
There are snipers shooting from rooftops and firing from nearby windows. Returning fire is essential, but so is caring for your own wounded and trying to keep from killing innocent villagers. The early verdict is that this is one of the best training scenarios the planners have ever devised.
Hey, this is some tough, realistic training. It's preparing our soldiers to go to combat, and this is about as close as they'll get besides being on the streets in Iraq.
There is a reason this training comes so close to the real thing.
What we've tried to do is incorporate several things that are different than our normal training. One is, especially for this mission rehearsal exercise, we have actually Iraqis portraying Iraqis. So we get the cultural nuance that you would not get. We get the language barriers that you get in normal training. And that changes the environment such that we have to really be aware of our surroundings.
From the men carrying the guns to the women trying to stay out of the line of fire, the people of Medina Jabal are either Iraqi nationals or U.S. citizens of Iraqi descent. Because some of them will soon leave for Iraq to serve as translators, we agreed to disguise the facial features of those we interviewed, who say they are here to provide a service to Iraq by providing a dose of realism to U.S. troops.
Exactly, and plus also teach them the way how we operate, the way our culture is, discipline, things like that, the way of life, yeah, our way of life.
These are the kind of people, acting in much the same way, that the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment can expect to meet in towns throughout Iraq.
It's just the operation, you know, somehow the way we act and the way they're looking at us is like, wow, this is the way it is, and it teaches them better understanding when they get back there. They're already trained and they know how it goes because they've been through it.
So far, things are not going well for Lieutenant Michael Smith's platoon.
Lightning 6, Red 1. I have a catastrophic kill on my support by fire 2. Support, the 1st raid team is in. My 2nd raid team is ineffective, over.
Even before getting into town, the squadron has taken casualties.
1 litter urgent, over.
And insurgents seem to be all around.
Hey, shoot those guys! Shoot those guys! Macau, get in the gun, Macau! Shoot those guys over there!
In the battle for Medina Jabal, the fog of war can quickly cloud any distinct difference between civilian and insurgent. Any movement could be hostile, any distant shape an enemy about to fire.
Hey, see those guys in the bushes? Shoot them over there. See the guys on the sides? Shoot them.
Lieutenant Smith's platoon is hardly a green squadron. Many of these soldiers saw combat in Iraq as recently as 10 months ago. But in the evolutionary timeline of war, 10 months might as well be 10 years.
About half of my platoon was over there before, and about half of the platoon is new. And the guys that were over there have stepped up into the leadership positions. So basically, we're all filling new roles.
The fight for Medina Jabal is symbolic of a new style of warfare, one in which allegiances can quickly change, influenced by everything from culture and religion to which armed insurgents happen to be in a town at any given time.
I think what our experience in Iraq and Afghanistan, in the campaigns that we're fighting more broadly in the context of the global war on terror, I think what it demonstrates is that war remains fundamentally in the realm of uncertainty.
The realities of this new type of war require a new type of training, one that places a new burden on soldiers to wage war, while at the same time trying to wage peace.
And so we have to train our leaders, train our teams to deal with that uncertainty, to understand the human and psychological dimension and the cultural dimension of conflict. And of course, our goals in Iraq have to do with the people.
When World Report continues, the worst case scenario, the consequences of collateral damage to innocent civilians. And despite their belief in the importance of their mission, how do the soldiers of the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment face the prospect of another year in Iraq?
One clearing right.
When American troops in Iraq stage a dress rehearsal for danger, they have some advantages that are hard to find at a stateside base.
The benefit we have here is we're training on buildings that are the exact same construction on the buildings we might actually have to go fight in for real. Your prime point we found here is this right here.
But even here, with the front line against the Iraqi insurgency all around them, there is one thing these soldiers won't be able to incorporate in their exercises. On the grounds of the Fort Carson Army Base, the buildings of a make-believe Iraqi village may not be as true to Arabic architecture as what soldiers will find in Iraq. But the people here are the real thing.
Most of them are citizens, and most of them are green cards, things like that. And we're here to teach the Army, to our tactics, our culture, our way of life, understanding, point of views.
It is the kind of education American troops could not receive in a real Iraqi town, except perhaps through lessons written in blood.
Cultural awareness, identifying insurgency elements that are mixed within the population, and really interfacing with a new environment that's much different than our own.
For this training mission, American troops will have to sort out how to deal with Iraqi civilians, Iraqi insurgents, and Iraqi enforcers in this fictional Iraqi village called Medina Jabal.
When you get down here, the Iraqi National Guard and King Battery, they will conduct the raid. What we're responsible for is crowd control in the vicinity. You guys can see it's a big open area. The local population will have freedom of maneuver.
For a week, the soldiers of the Army's 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment have the luxury of learning how to relate to Iraqis who may or may not be friendly, without the consequences of live fire.
The 4 days up to this that we've been out in the field, we've been working stability support operations, working with the local police force and mayor, improving things in the town, such as their water supply. They had a problem with bringing in food, but we tried to help them out with that.
Ready? Boom! Ready? Boom! Go, go!
The operation to root out the insurgents who have infiltrated this village
He's behind that building. There's a guy behind that building right there.
depends in part on information American soldiers can obtain from some of the locals.
Did you see them go in? Yes, they were the black upper flea and the brown pants. One of them, he has a black hat, and the other one has some kind of black and white turban.
So far, everything is going according to the script. The insurgents play their part, trying to keep the American forces guessing and using Medina Jabal and its people as cover. There is even a media contingent covering the action to make things interesting. But no one knows for sure what will happen next.
There will be injuries. We'll see if their medics take care of the injured civilian. And we kind of play it off as it goes down. We react to however it goes. You know, we can go one way or the other just depending on how they react.
Actually, the first real trouble comes when U.S. troops try to arrest one of the town's residents. The soldiers believe the man is one of the insurgents, but village inhabitants say otherwise.
He said, I already talked to the captain. He has nothing wrong with him. He's just a thief.
With pockets of resistance still taking a toll, U.S. troops respond with deadly fire, sometimes hitting unintended targets. An innocent civilian is killed in the crossfire. Quickly, townspeople turn their anger on the U.S. soldiers, threatening to turn what had been a successful mission into an anti-American riot. The American troops that came into Medina Jabal may now have trouble getting their wounded out.
Okay. What do you expect from the population? To be happy about that?
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well then, sir, how can we make that better?
All right. Down to the last building, all right?
This kind of real-world crisis makes fighting in Iraq different than almost any other conflict these men have imagined.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
And soon, these scenarios will play out for real when the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment heads back to Iraq.
Honestly, I'm not overly excited about it. I'd rather stay here with my family, but I understand my duty, and I understand that I am helping the Iraqi people. My men understand that, and we won't hesitate to accomplish our mission.
The sudden evolution of the villagers from, at worst, neutral observers to fist-shaking anti-Americans clearly surprises the troops, who will now have to win back the hearts and minds of people whose support is vital.
The townspeople was pretty aggressive and kind of changed some of their focus from the townspeople from the actual mission. But they done a great job coming in. They were very aggressive, and a lot of my NCOs took charge, which I am extremely proud of.
The continually changing conditions dreamed up by the planners who created Medina Jabal might strike some observers as improbable and unfair. But then nobody ever said war was fair.
They had bad information, there were casualties to deal with, and we built change into the scenario. So a very high degree of stress and strain on the organization to see how well they could adapt to multiple events simultaneously.
Obviously this dominates the terrain within the city, but then that hill dominates that building from the top.
Adapting to changing events requires planning for things you may have a hard time even imagining.
I mean, we're looking for one target individual, but we know there's 20 to 30 insurgents strongholded in the town.
Each day of this training, new pieces are added to the Medina Jabal puzzle. Fitting those pieces together is now part of a training philosophy that military planners believe will save lives when these soldiers plan a mission aimed at a real Iraqi town or village.
As teams go through this training, they build a very high degree of cohesion that comes with mutual trust and confidence between soldiers and their leaders.
Preparing for battles that no one can entirely predict may be an inexact science. But even if practice can't always make perfect, it can make for a force infinitely better prepared for the unpredictable.
What Americans often see is they often see the end result. They see their army in action. They see the quality of their soldiers, the effectiveness of our organizations. What they don't get to see very often is how that happens. It's not easy.
That's where Medina Jabal comes in. Once again, this is a quiet town where Iraqis act out the daily rituals and routines of life. So do the insurgents, taking up their places, waiting for the assault that will surely come. The people here know that, as it is almost every day, the peace of their village will soon be shattered. They wouldn't have it any other way.
We got the cat's back left, right? He's gonna come back with ammo and an empty trap. What we gotta do is move these KIAs out and hold this building, all right? We got the ammo we got now. We got one light machine gun, all right? So make them count.
3-4 Delta, Roger, disregard. No more handgun rounds into the town, over. What is it?